I call to order this regular meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Morris this Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. The time is now 7 p.m. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. An adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required by law. Specifically, notice of this meeting was emailed to the Daily Record and Morris Newsbee on January 5th, 2023, and posted on the Township of Morris website. The agenda and resolutions for the meeting are available at www.morristwp.com under the Agenda Center. Certain portions of the meeting may be closed to the public for the purpose of personnel and/or other matters, as outlined in the Sunshine Law. Notice to members of the governing body and township staff: any use of electronic devices during this meeting shall be used solely for the purposes of township business, and any communications are subject to the Open Public Records Act. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Grayzel.
Here.
Ms. Guariglia.
Here.
Mr. Ravitz.
Here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Here. Please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First on our agenda is approval of the minutes. This evening we have approval for the minutes of the June and July Township Committee meetings. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes from June 21st, 2023, closed and regular, and July 19th, 2023, closed and regular?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, with that, we're going right into our actually, I'll turn over to our municipal attorney for one addition to our agenda for our resolutions, then we'll go to the first public comment.
So, Mayor, in addition to the resolutions listed on the agenda tonight, there's an additional resolution, Resolution 210-23. It's a resolution appointing Lester Taylor, ESQ, of the law firm Florio Perucci, as special labor counsel at the rate of $185 per hour with a not to exceed amount of $10,000. That'll be included in the consent agenda unless a governing body member pulls it for separate voting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cantor.
Question.
We have it on the agenda first.
Okay.
Would you prefer the public comment after the EDAC?
I would.
So on the agenda, we have public comment before the EDAC presentation. Ms. Wilson asked if we could have the public comment after the EDAC presentation. Is there an objection to that?
No objection.
Nope. Without objection, then we will invite up Liam Gallagher, Chair of our Economic Development Advisory Committee, to present on the Madison Avenue Corridor Study, which EDAC has worked on for a long time and put a lot of hours in. So we welcome you. Thank you for being here, and I will pull up your slides on our screen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So hi, everybody. My name is Liam Gallagher. I'm the chairman of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. I've been in position for about 2.5, 3 years now. And what we intend to cover briefly this evening is reflective of the work over those last 2.5 years on what we've called and deemed the Madison Avenue Corridor and the strategic vision associated with that. So if you can go to the second slide, I'm not sure where you're presenting. Yeah, perfect. So just to kind of lay the groundwork for what actually is the Madison Avenue Corridor, we're calling it basically the connection between Normandy, basically the Friendlies, and down to Canville and Convent Station and the Madison Hotel. So that swath, the major conduit of Route 124, obviously a piece of road that's essential to the economic vitality of Morris Township in our view. And what we'll be presenting tonight is really just a piece of probably more of a 50-plus page PowerPoint deck that we put together with collaboration from a few other stakeholders that I'll go through this afternoon, but really kind of seeing that as a corridor going through a live transition, as well as things like restoration hardware coming to light, some recent renovations and things like that. So happy to kind of give the overview of what our strategic vision is this evening, and then open up to questions, and do invite anybody to attend our monthly EDAC meeting. So we can go to the next slide as an executive summary. Over the last 24 months, we've really kind of been intently looking at Madison Avenue through the lens of economic prosperity for the township, and really kind of thinking about proactively planning for the future of the corridor as well. being a major artery through downtown, from downtown Morristown to Madison. We see this as an essential part of the future of Madison, of Morris Township. So being, a few other pieces in there, that there's a range of buildings under existing improvements in age of those buildings. There's continued proposals that we've seen coming through the planning township on Madison Hotel, which has just gone under a renovation, Restoration Hardware, the Primrose School, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, things like that. So it's very topical to the township. We understand that. It's also kind of entering into a post-pandemic life, if you will. So what does the work-life balance look like? What do those arrangements look like? And what does the housing future look like as well? Not hidden on anybody that it's a very residential area that surrounds the entire corridor as well. So we were very intent to reach out to the residents, not only around the Madison Avenue corridor, but greater Morris Township, to make sure we had their influence on this work as well. And then our largest employer, Atlantic Health, making sure they were engaged in understanding what their strategies are. So kind of thinking about this as a real estate strategy, an economic development strategy with a lot of moving pieces in basically an uncertain world as we kind of move out of the pandemic. So I highlighted the collaborative process between the community and the property owner. So there's a very intentional property owner outreach to get their influence on this work. So we wanted all stakeholders to have a voice. This wasn't just the broader EDAC team. And part of this is hopefully getting feedback tonight or in future EDAC meetings to really complete this vision over the next couple weeks and into the fall. If we can go to the next slide, just the work completed to date. The process has, kind of pulled on a lot of subject matter experts from our, right in Morris Township and the businesses that are represented there. So you see the JLL commercial leasing team, the Restoration Hardware. So Dave Stanchek, which I'm sure is a name that is familiar to many here. He's the former president and the real estate development officer at Restoration Hardware. Nuveen Asset Management, which is the former owner of the Jacobs building, so 299 Madison Ave. The property owner outreach, which went out to all property owners, which are all privately owned businesses or privately owned businesses or buildings on the corridor. The resident survey, as well as getting feedback and input from the Morris County Economic Development Corporation, and that was the president, Megan Hunchner. So this, again, wasn't just us. It was a collaborative effort across the board and making sure we got all those stakeholders to voice their opinions and influence the ultimate outcome here. So what are our recommendations on a very high level here? So we know we need to proactively manage these sites as the buildings themselves get older and maybe functionally obsolete in terms of what the future of real estate looks like in Morristown. How do we in Morris Township, how do we look at redevelopment potentially in those proposals that are seemingly continuing to come through? One that I'll go back to a few times this evening is just opening up those level of communication. So communications not only with the residents, but really making sure we're engaging with the property owners on a proactive level, understanding their strategies as well. Obviously, we know when some of those leases are up, but what do they want to do with those buildings so we can best represent their interests in this process as well. So kind of the proactive planning is kind of a call to arms, if you will, thinking about this not through the next, maybe 2 to 5 years, but 10 years and beyond if we can. The zoning review. So as noted in actually the township master plan, all the OL5 zone properties, so OL5 is office and research lab zoned, should be reviewed and potentially put an overlay zone for alternative uses, including at minimum what would be considered B11 zoning. So B11 is business zoning, so retail, commercial business, professional services, and we saw a lot of that come back in the resident survey. They want to see restaurants, they want to see small, locally owned businesses, things that they can really resonate with, and maybe people they even know own these businesses, including outdoor dining, and not so much of the automotive, the drive-through, drive-in. And one of our studies actually with the residents showed that over 45% prefer this B11 zoning, which is that business zoning for more of the professional services as well as restaurants. Another major theme that came out of this was ensuring that we have some sort of building and design standards. So residents are very, from an aesthetic perspective, appealing to the Crum and Foster building, the potential for the Restoration Hardware building, and kind of adopting those standards that align with their aspirations to be more green and sustainably focused, to maybe not LEED certified buildings, but certainly poaching from those elements where we could get a higher quality aesthetic aesthetic quality of the buildings, while also preserving a lot of the historic virtues of the buildings and this area as well. A big one that came back as well is frontage. So making sure that we have the greenery, the trees, the preservation enhanced through that open space, if you will, understanding that we can't just remove these buildings and put in park space, but the buildings that are there, the footprints that they do consume at this point, how can we really maximize the amount of green space around there as well? And then another big one was the limited street signage. So removing those, maybe the really fluorescent type lightings and more facade mounted lighting. So think about the gooseneck lighting that's more down lighting to remove a lot of that light pollution, certainly at night. And I've been thinking about, similar to Dunkin' Donuts, timers on those lights. So really preserving that aesthetic at all hours for the residents and the corridor itself. So the planning, the zoning review, which obviously would take in the township planning committee, and then those design standards, which we have a lot more details on in our broader pack. So if we can go to the next slide, just real quick. Thinking about what that redevelopment, we're not promoting a full redevelopment zone for the Madison Avenue corridor, but things that we want to see as these buildings do get redeveloped, because it is somewhat inevitable. Safe walkable space that's contingent to, aligned with the neighborhood type environment. Again, thinking about those small locally owned businesses, the restaurants, the cafes, that was the #1 choice of the residents. Another big one that came through in terms of the residents' preferences as well as the property owners was the need and interest in multifamily structures with ground floor retail, incentivizing developers to provide opportunities for small businesses on those ground floors. And that also can then have the synergies with the third bullet point there, senior living properties as well. So thinking about those mixed use spaces in a very design focused way that could accommodate more of the types of buildings that we'd like to see in this space, and kind of tie into the broader neighborhood type network that's surrounding the corridor. Safety and accessibility hit on quickly here, but with the high concentration, the access to the train, the traction line as well as the train station, people are constantly walking and biking this corridor. So really thinking about the safety first, expanding the sidewalks throughout the entire corridor, which currently doesn't exist, but thinking about that full length, as well as the lighting and kind of the traffic signals that would allow for safe access to the corridor itself. And then finally, I hit on this on a few different points, but really the main want and need out of both the property owners and the residents are those open lines of communication. Where are we going? What are the buildings where we're really thinking about this potential overlay zone? How does that influence their communities? And they want to provide their feedback. We are very open to their feedback. We did that in the form of a survey, as well as having a virtual charrette led by our township planner, Paul Phillips, to really collect that feedback, making sure they were engaged in this entire process and influencing ultimately what you're seeing tonight and the broader visioning pack that I mentioned before. So I think those open lines of communications can come through a few ways, whether it be the email blasts, the township messenger, mailing, social media posts, some of the media articles, just to make sure they know we're thinking about this corridor in a proactive way. And something that really has the township's best interest moving forward, the location, the community, and we're really, hopefully, the township is dictating the future of the Madison Avenue corridor. So I think I'll stop there, see if there's any questions. I'm happy to go into any more details. There's a lot of work, and thank you to Robert Burns, the vice chair of EDAC and the broader EDAC team that's all fed into this over the last 24 months or so.
Thank you, Liam, for taking the time to come in tonight, and thank you for spearheading this initiative and guiding it through over the past few years even with complications due to COVID and having the virtual seminars to get that public input. I know that's something you and EDAC and with Robert have been committed to, is making sure the residents were part of this conversation. So we really appreciate you taking the lead on that. And I would just agree, I'll open it up to the questions from the TC, but I'm pretty sure everyone on this dais wants to make sure that whatever happens on Madison Avenue down the road, that there's cohesivity there, that the cohesive structure to new development or changing adapting buildings for different uses, things like that, making sure there's consistency throughout the corridor, and making sure we still retain some character there too of what it used to be with Millionaires Row and what does that look like down the road? So really appreciative of all the work you've done over the past few years to get this study finalized and presented to us. But I'll open up to the TC for any questions for Liam. Kathy?
Yeah, I don't have questions so
Sure.
much as comments, and just a couple of things I'd like to highlight. One is, as you know, I was on EDAC for a number of years. I'm not serving on it this year, but one thing I like about what you guys have done looking at the Madison Avenue corridor, I really like the collaboration across the advisory boards.
That's right.
That you guys have brought to bear. You've invited input from the Environmental Commission, from the Transportation Committee, from the Planning Board, and that came as input as you were planning your activities, and now it comes as output on the recommendations that you're making. And a few things I wanted to highlight that stand out to me. It stands out to me that you guys are recommending reviewing the OL5 zoning, correct?
Correct.
And that you're recommending looking at possibly establishing an overlay zone for that, right?
That is part of the recommendation.
Okay,
Yes.
so what I connect that with is if you read our existing master plan, that's exactly what it recommends. It recommends that the planning board and the township take a look at the OL5 zoning with an eye toward future development and consider changes. And what I see at this point, having gotten the input from the community, from the property owners, from the residents surrounding, we're now in a position, by we, I mean the township, and I would imagine this going through, probably starting with the planning board, to really make some recommendations on revising the OL5 zone, right?
I think that's exactly right. I mean, going through the master plan is part of this broader exercise. I think it's that level of accountability and executing against what's in there. I believe it was last published in 2017. Might be wrong there, but yeah,
that's correct.
So it's here we are, 6, 7 years later, and seeing what's actually actively going on the corridor. It's basically that call to action to really think about what we want that corridor to be and being in charge of it as opposed to being told what to do.
Absolutely. And that's the key information that you've brought to bear here that was not in place, in my opinion, in 2017, which is the input from the property owners, what they'd like to see, and the input particularly from the residents. Yeah. The whole thing with the frontage, the walkability, the safety, the lighting, they don't want, I remember doing the focus groups, they don't want it to look like Route 10. They don't want big commercial businesses so much as smaller mom and pop type businesses that our residents expressed a preference for that. Yeah. So we have a lot of information now to work with, and I just commend you guys for doing that. It was a ton of work to gather all this, and just very helpful.
For the committee's sake and the broader township, we have all these surveys that are publicly available to see exactly what everybody wanted, and the data that's been fed into 6 pages here is hundreds of pages, as well as the property owner. Not the property owner outreach was survey based as well as phone call or Zoom based, as well as we have those interviews as well. So it's based in real data. It's kind of the thematics that are coming out here. We're not just kind of workshop by the group. It's really based in what these groups want to see, and we've kind of just aggregated it up and told that story.
And you went so far also as to highlight particular properties that should be thought about as part of re-envisioning your zoning, so to speak, and you listed them in your recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that, the MetLife building has been quite empty for some time. The JCP&L building has been quite, what does that look like, in terms, those are big, chunky properties, many acres, that we want to, think about as part of this broader visioning. And, is it going to change in the next year? Probably not, but how do we get ahead of that?
Right. And I just want to highlight, for the benefit of anyone who's listening, the properties that you guys highlighted in your recommendations: JCP&L, Provident, the Doctors Park, Madison Hotel, and MetLife.
Yeah.
Important properties on Madison Avenue that do sort of contribute to the idea that this is an area in transition, kind of. I also wanted to, like I said, I like the overlap with the advisory boards and the recommendation to coordinate with TAC on the EV and to fill in the sidewalk gaps. The recommendation I connect with the Environmental Commission on green building design standards. There's a lot to be thought of there, the tree canopy. So there's a lot of things that come into play through this one location. And I just commend you on what you guys have done. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay. Thank you, Liam. Thank you, Robert, for coming. Thank you, Nicole, for being here as well, for all your help with EDAC. And again, we just commend you for all your work, and we're looking forward to partnering with you on, implementing some of the recommendations that you've made to the Township Committee and the Planning Board. So thank you for all your time.
Cool. Thanks all.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Nice presentation.
All right. Well, we have to get to public comment.
Okay.
With that, we'll move into our first public comment period. We currently have 11 members of the public joining us on Zoom. At this time, we'll open the meeting. We'll open comments first for those who are here in person, and then we'll switch over to those who are on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to speak. When you do speak, please state your name and address for the record before speaking. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. If you have questions that you'd like answered, your remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. With that, may I please have a motion to open the first public comment period?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no members of the public in person to ask a question, I will now turn it over to Carolyn Siegel.
Whoops. Yeah,
Ms.
this
Siegel,
morning,
please say your name and address for the record.
I'm in 136 Changebridge Road, B3 in Montville, New Jersey. This morning, I was sitting in my chair peacefully, and garbage collectors, they shone a light in my condo at 6:10 in the morning. It was very disconcerting.
I'm sorry, you said you were in Montville?
Yeah. They're
Okay.
not helping me. I'm trying to get help. I'm trying to better my life.
Have you called the administration in Montville?
I suppose you're right. They're not very sympathetic.
Montville.
They're not very sympathetic to me. I'm going through a lot of crap right now that I don't even want to talk about. I'm a nice person, and I just got divorced to a person that was treating me like crap. And I'm being kind by saying that I'm not cursing.
Ma'am, if I would ask you if you need help, send us an email. Go to the Morris Township website with your contact.
All right.
information, and we'll
Okay,
turn it over.
what is the Morris Township website, sir?
Morris,
Yes.
Morris, TWP.
Morris,
.com.
Morris, yes, I'm on the slow bus, sir. Morris, TWP, yeah.
.com.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate
I
it.
would recommend you go to Montville's website first
All
to
right,
contact them.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jack, do we have anyone else? Seeing no further hands raised, I'll ask, is there a motion to close the public portion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. We have one ordinance for public hearing and adoption on tonight's agenda. I will be recusing myself from this ordinance as it deals with the fire department, and I will now turn it over to Deputy Mayor Ravitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk, please read the title of Ordinance 17-23 into the record, and we will then open the public hearing.
17-23, ordinance of the Township of Morris, Morris County, New Jersey, establishing salaries and compensation for employees of the Firemen's Mutual Benevolent Association, Local 70, of the Township of Morris.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now take comments from in-person attendees and then switch over to Zoom. Please raise your virtual hand in Zoom to indicate you'd like to speak. Anybody from the... I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing first.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll take comments from in-person attendees and then switch over to Zoom. If you're on Zoom and you'd like to ask a question, please raise your digital hand. Anybody from the anybody attending want to make a comment? No? Then we'll switch over to Zoom. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
Deputy Mayor, unless Ms. Siegel's making comments, or I just believe she left her hand raised, so I don't see anybody on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to close the public hearing on 17-23?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we'll open up the public hearing for any, I need a motion to approve the ordinance.
I'll move that we approve ordinance 17-23 for adoption.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Wait, I thought we were going to, do we have the public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion from the dais? I'm sorry.
There's nobody here.
Okay.
Okay. Seeing no comments, anything else? No? Then can I get a motion to adopt? Oh, and we get a roll call first. Okay, roll call first on ordinance number.
Mayor, I think
we had a motion to adopt.
We had a motion and a second to adopt,
Oh.
and we had a discussion on the right, Madam Clerk, we have a motion.
And then we have a roll call.
Yes. Okay, roll call. Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Recused.
Okay, thank you. I, Bud Ravitz, Deputy Mayor, declare ordinance number 17-23 approved and adopted, and direct the Township Clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Ravitz. We have one ordinance for introduction on tonight's agenda. Madam Clerk, if you'd please read the title of ordinance number 18-23 into the record.
Ordinance of the Township of Morris, Morris County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 95, Article 2, Section 6, zoning map of the Township of Morris to redesignate several RH5 zone properties to OSGU in the code of the Township of Morris. Township properties, Jones Woods.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And just for the public, as the clerk said, these are properties in Jones Woods on the western side of the township, off of Picatinny Road, and near the Burnham Park neighborhood. So with that, may I please have a motion to introduce ordinance number 18-23?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or items of discussion from the committee before we vote to introduce?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
My question is, all of these will be eventually put on the Rossi, correct?
Correct.
And what is
Two of them are already on the Rossi.
currently on? So lot 7 and lot 3.01 are currently on the Rossi.
That is correct.
So we'll be changing the zoning of lot 3 to open space, and then that'll be eventually added to the Rossi?
Yes, but we're changing the zoning on all three.
To open space?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so of the one that is not currently on the Rossi, what is involved in getting it on the Rossi?
We have to file with the state commission, and we have a number of properties. It's just not that property. We'll be looking at other open space properties such as Valley View, Baker Farm, and a few others, and be making that application later on this fall.
Okay. Thank you.
And Mayor, I just want to comment that this ordinance will be reviewed by the planning board. So so you're not only voting for introduction, you're also voting to have it to be referred to the planning board and a public hearing.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilson. So yeah, just for those joining online, to make clear, we will be having a public hearing on this at the next meeting after we vote to introduce. But these are efforts to preserve open space that exists in Jones Woods and make sure it's registered with the state so that we're able to preserve it for many, many years to come. So with that, Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. The public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 18-23 will be held at the next regular Township Committee meeting on Wednesday, September 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. We now have 25 resolutions on tonight's agenda. I'll ask for the committee to vote en bloc resolutions 186-23 through 209-23, and then have a separate vote on 210-23, which I will be recusing myself from. So with that, may I please have a motion to approve resolutions 186-23 to 209-23 by one motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Madam Clerk, can we please have a roll call vote?
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. I will now turn it over to Deputy Mayor Ravitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution 210-23 into the record.
Appointing Lester Taylor, Esquire, Florio, Carucci, Steinhardt, Capelli, Tipton, and Taylor, LLC, 430 Mountain Ave, Suite 103, New Providence, New Jersey, 07974, as special labor counsel at the rate of $185 per hour, not to exceed $10,000.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve resolution 210-23?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, may I get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mayor Gyorfy.
Recuse. Thank you. Moving on to our next agenda items. We have items on our consent calendar. We have the St. Patty's Day 5K race, the 12th annual superhero half marathon, and approval of a resignation of a member of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. May I please have a motion to approve these items from a member of the committee?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to consideration of monthly reports. Tonight we have received reports for Finance and the Fire Department for June 2023, and reports from Joint Court, Tax Collector, and the Municipal Library, the Joint Municipal Library for July 2023. May I please have a motion to approve these monthly reports?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Claims for payment. Tonight's list of bills and vouchers. We have a total amount for this meeting of $15,015,997.32. As a reminder to members of the public joining us, we are the tax collector not only for ourselves, but also for the school district, the library, and the county of Morris. May I please have a motion to approve the list of bills and vouchers?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Guariglia,
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
and Mayor Gyorfy.
Yes. Moving on next is our standing committee reports and commentary from the Township Committee members, and I will now recognize Committeewoman Donna Guariglia.
Thank you, Mayor. On the standing committee reports, in the month of August, both the Economic Development Advisory Committee and the Transportation Advisory Committee do not meet. Obviously, you just heard Liam Gallagher's report on the Madison Avenue corridor. So again, thank you to him and everybody involved, and especially those being newer and only on the committee this first year. I was really impressed by all the hard work that was done. And as you heard, if anybody wants to see the full PowerPoint, you're welcome to it. I did get to attend the ribbon cutting at the marketplace on Hanover Avenue, and it's great to see more businesses opening there. And we look forward to the success of each and every one of those. We'll continue all our hard work on EDAC, and are always, like Liam mentioned also in his remarks, we're always looking for more residents to get involved, and please come to the meetings. On the Transportation Advisory Committee, again, our big thing this summer has been Morris Township in Motion. Betty Simmons did a fabulous job on the Evergreen Cemetery Walk. I was unable to attend, but hopefully someone on the committee who was there will give some feedback. The next one is on August 24th. It's the Senior Walk. It's a short guided walk through Lewanika on the paved path for older residents. It'll start at Kitchell Pond and go to South Street and back. In collaboration with our Parks and Rec, Health Department, and the Police Department, there will be a bike rodeo for 5 to 10-year-olds on October 21st at the Convent Station parking lot. Plans are still ongoing for this, but it will be part of what we're now calling Morris Township Kids in Motion.
Oh.
And it'll have bike safety and obstacle course, and hopefully goodie bags will also be available. So we're looking forward to September and continuing our work on the bus shelters mapping and complete streets on TAC. As far as my commentary, the first thing I would like to do is congratulate our new Chief Financial Officer, Sean Ferguson, and look forward to working with him. Would like to thank Francine DeAngelis for her exemplary work as our CFO. My commentary is actually a reflection on my first year on the Township Committee. I sat on this dais a year ago for the first time, and as a longtime resident of the Township, I knew it was a great place, but I didn't know all the behind-the-scenes work that was going on. I first want to thank my fellow committee members for their support and collaboration on all the items that we are presented with. Each member is dedicated to making the decisions that best serve all of our residents. Our administrator, Tim Quinn, and his staff work tirelessly to keep the town in good shape, and everyone at Town Hall in every department looks to improve all aspects of the township. I'd also like to thank Jared Cantor, our attorney, for your insight and availability anytime I had questions. This year has flown by, and I have learned a lot. I encourage more residents to attend our monthly meetings, but also to get involved, as we have seen new volunteers with a wide range of experience in areas pertinent to our future development. Although not a Morris Township resident, I would be remiss if I did not mention the passing of Marge Brady from Morristown. Marge is a woman I met over 30 years ago and a woman well before her time. Condolences to the Brady family. Marge is quoted in the press as saying, "I learned that wisdom is more important than knowledge, that people do count, and there are miracles all the time if you let them happen. All who knew her will miss her." Despite all the day-to-day noise and continued reports of what seems to highlight all that is going wrong, this is still a great country, and we are lucky to live in a town where we share a vision for continued improvement and community caring. So enjoy the rest of the summer, and to those dropping sons and daughters off at college or gearing up little ones for the school year, cherish these moments. They go by in the blink of an eye. Good luck and much success to a great school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Committeewoman Guariglia. Committeeman Grayzel.
Thank you, Mayor. The Police Standing Committee last week met to discuss the organization structure of the police department. We have had the recent retirement of Lieutenant Dave Crowley. And Tim, can you remind me how many years of service he had? About 25? 25. 25. And Lieutenant Gogolich, was it 12? 20. Gogolich had 20? Yes. Oh, very good. So I want to thank Lieutenant Crowley for his 25 years of service to the department and to our community. And the other officer, Lieutenant Heather Gogolich, is moving on to another law enforcement opportunity in Newark after 20 years of service to our department. I want to thank Lieutenant Gogolich for all her hard work with the community and improving the police department's outreach work to all of us in the community. She was in charge of our Facebook page and other public outreach things that the police department did, and they were greatly improved over the last few years. She will be missed, and I do wish her well in her new position. On our agenda tonight, we had 5 separate resolutions that we just voted on related to 5 promotions that will occur effective September 4th. You know, we're filling those lieutenant positions, and other people are moving up. So you'll note on the agenda that we had the promotion of Ryan Farrell to lieutenant, the promotion of Robert Dombrowski to lieutenant, the promotion of Robert Ribnicki to sergeant, the promotion of John Burke to sergeant, and the promotion of Justin Crowell to a lieutenant as well. And we are going to have a promotion ceremony. Those are effective on September 4th, if you see the resolution. And we're going to have a promotion ceremony here at our September meeting. Also, we have 3 new police officers at the academy who are going to be joining us at the end of August, is it? No? You're going to correct me on this one. November. Oh, okay.
24 weeks.
24 more weeks. Okay.
Well, 24 weeks for the police academy.
Okay. I had my timing off on that one. But they are going to be joining us to backfill the positions of those that just got promoted. Let's see. Also related to the police department, we had a resolution on our agenda tonight to purchase bought 3 new police cars. We usually buy 3 new cars each year to replace our oldest cars. We have a very large municipality, and from this end to the other end is quite far, as some of you might know, for those of us who live on the other side of town. And the cars put a lot of miles on. We put a lot of miles on our cars every year, and we need to turn them over every 5 or so years. So we are purchasing 3 new cars. I would also like to point out that we did try to purchase hybrid vehicles. You know, this township is committed to going green, so to speak, and looking into purchasing the hybrid vehicles, but they were not available on any of the co-ops or the contracts that the state has. So unfortunately, we had to go back and purchase traditional gas-powered cars this year, and we're going to be looking for hybrids going forward. But I want the public to know that we did make that effort. For my general commentary, I want to thank Liam Gallagher again and Robert Burns for their presentation of the Madison Avenue Corridor report that was presented earlier tonight. The volunteer members of EDAC are doing a great job to help Morris Township be a better place for all of us, and I'd like to thank everybody on that committee for their volunteer work. I too, as Committeewoman Guariglia, just did give take note of the former Morristown Councilwoman Marge Brady that passed away earlier this week. Morris Township and Morristown are linked communities, so what happens in one often affects the other. Marge Brady put in a tremendous amount of effort to fight for improvements in the Morristown community and stayed active in her efforts almost until the end of her life. So I would like to acknowledge all of her hard work that she did on behalf of the broader community that she loved, and my condolences go out to her family. I want to give a shout out to the employees of the Parks and Recreation Department. Summer is a very, very busy season for them. There are lots of parks to maintain, lots of grass to mow, and we have many events that occur, such as concerts and movies. And I want the public to know of all the hard work that goes in behind the scenes when we put on a concert or movie. There's lots of equipment to move, both before and after the shows, not just the speakers, but also chairs sometimes for the band that's on the stage, particularly when we had that orchestra. There was a lot of chairs to move. I saw that evening. And when I was hanging out in the parking lot afterwards talking to a resident, I witnessed it myself. Several employees were working well past dark to move all that equipment back to where it belonged. And I would just want to thank those employees and all the employees in the Parks and Rec Department who put in extra effort over the summer to make it enjoyable for all of our residents. And lastly, I too wanted to give a shout out to the many college students, including 2 of my own who have left or will be moving back to school shortly. I really wish them all of them a good school year, and I hope they enjoyed their summers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Committeeman Grayzel. I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor for Public Outreach, Kathy Wilson.
Thank you. On my standing committee reports, Environment First, our EC Environmental Commission is not meeting this month, so there is less activity than usual to report on. One project they are proceeding with is the Sustainable Jersey Grant, and an important first step on that front has been to design a new logo, which will appear on the equipment they purchase and the brochures that they'll be creating. After going through a lengthy creation and approval process, the EC has adopted a new logo. This is a big accomplishment. It required a lot of time and effort on the part of many different people. A special thanks to Barbara Buda and Brian Morgan of the EC and Virginia Murphy of the Township for all the work they did to create the logo. And thanks to our Township committee members for approving it. On the Seniors Committee, we've made good progress on our 2 biggest initiatives. One is our plan to hold a focus group session with the public on October 10th. We're in good shape on the planning end of that. The subgroup has met and formulated its recommendations. We met earlier this week with Tim and Virginia, so we have good coordination going on with the Township. We are planning this to be an in-person event. It'll be Tuesday, October 10th from 2 to 4 p.m. right here in Town Hall. Our maximum capacity is 60 people, and we are getting early indications that there may be more people than that who want to participate. We had 150 people on the survey say that they're interested in participating, and there have been communications with some of them, and we're kind of anticipating at least 60 will be interested. So we've got some ideas on how we'll handle that if it does occur. In the short run, this is a great opportunity for our residents to offer suggestions, share ideas with each other on ways to make the quality of life for our 6,800 seniors in Morris Township the best it can be. And if you are one of the people interested in participating, I encourage you to sign up early. The publicity and registration is going to start shortly after Labor Day. And also, if you're unable to attend, please let us know so we can give your spot to someone else. I also wanted to extend a special thanks to Noelle Robinson for leading this committee, and to Tim and Virginia for the time and support they've shown in pulling this together. It's a big event. On the webpage that the Seniors Committee is creating, we're in the process of putting the finishing touches on it. Once the members of the committee have had a chance to review it, we will be sending out a notice to kind of launch it officially with the public. This has been a ton of work. It's been a true team effort, and we are really proud of the results. So here, special thanks to the Seniors Committee member, Mary Vall. Also, another thanks to Virginia Murphy. She's been extremely helpful. Both of them have done yeoman's work. And I also wanted to say a special thanks to Donna for her time and help with both of these initiatives. She and I serve on the focus group and the website committees. We've had a lot of meetings, a lot of emails, and a lot of planning, and we're making good progress here. And thank you. On my township committee comments, I'm just so struck by how many really cool events there are going around in our town this summer. I have had the opportunity to attend several of the concerts that our Parks and Rec department has sponsored. They've been really great and very well attended. I also love our Transportation Committee's Morristown in Motion initiative. I did do the walk last week on Evergreen Cemetery. Oh my goodness, was that fascinating. Beautiful location, tons of history in there, and it was thoroughly enjoyed by the 15 or so people who attended. So special thanks to Betty Simmons for leading that walk. Also, just highlighting the walk they'll be doing as part of Morris Township in Motion on the 24th. That walk is for seniors, targeted for seniors. Anybody can join, but it'll take place over at Lewanika, meet up at the Kitchell Pavilion by the Kitchell Lake, 4:30, August 24th. And I hope to see you then. Thanks to, I know Chris Ruggieri did a lot of work on that. Thanks to her for that. Thanks to Jim Hunt for coming up with the whole initiative in the first place. And I think this is just a really great way to invite everyone to enjoy all that our town has to offer. I also wanted to extend congratulations to our new Chief Financial Officer, Sean Ferguson, and say huge thanks to retiring CFO Francine DeAngelis. Again, another thanks to Liam and to EDAC for their presentation and all the work they've done. This has been a lot of work to get to this point, and I think it's really important and it'll be helpful to all of us for many different reasons. And I also wanted to thank Merle for her service on EDAC, and I'm sorry to see her retiring from EDAC. And with that, I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilson. Deputy Mayor Ravitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for your participation in our local community government. National politics, as we all know, may get the spotlight, but typically it's what we do here locally that has the biggest economic and quality of life impact on our lives. Just really quickly, I'm going to be very brief tonight regarding Parks and Rec. I know a couple of my colleagues have already talked about Parks and Rec, but I'm going to add my 2 cents. I hope everybody is enjoying all that Morris Township has to offer with regards to the Park and Recreation summer programs, free concerts, outdoor movies, and the pools. The Parks and Rec fall catalog was mailed out, so please If you haven't gotten it, or if you want more information, visit the Parks and Rec website for all information that you need to enjoy the fall activities. As my colleague had mentioned, Donna Guariglia, I was honored to speak at the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Morris Marketplace outdoor experience, declaring it officially open for business. It's a modern approach to outdoor malls with some creative features to enjoy. I had stated many times that Morris Township is the best place in the county to live, work, and play. And now with the addition of the marketplace, it's also the best place to shop, eat, and play. If you've not gotten a chance yet to visit the marketplace, it's worth the trip. I encourage our residents to continue to patronize township businesses because their success is success for all of us. Real quickly also, I do want to say that we had our first cannabis meeting last week, and this is an initiative of my main initiative for this year that the mayor is spearheading, and he might have a couple of more words to say about it. The next meeting is coming up on the 22nd. That's Tuesday at 6:30 here at the municipal building. Last week we did hear from our township professionals, and it was very informative and very enlightening discussion from all members of the committee. And as always, I'd like to end my commentary with this. Morris Township is a culturally diverse community. We grow and learn from each other in order to be better and do better. Let's not marginalize or demonize the people who have less political or economic power that some of us currently enjoy. Rather, let's face up to and stand up to those who continue to profit from our division. Equal rights for all citizens does not diminish the rights of any other citizens. We have more in common than we should ever divide us, but we have to talk to each other and not at each other. Amplifying misinformation, hateful or violent rhetoric is not part of any civil society. And lastly, let's remember that as we go about our business each day, to just be kind to ourselves and kind to others. Kindness does ripple. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your summer. Mayor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Ravitz. For my committee reports for Parks and Rec, you've heard a lot about the fantastic programming that the Parks and Rec Department has offered this summer and continues to. So for those who are interested in partaking, upcoming movie nights, we have tomorrow night at the Collinsville Playground, as well as August 26th at Ginty Field. And upcoming concerts at Ginty Field are August 20th, August 28th, and August 31st. So if you haven't been already, we more than encourage you to go and participate. Also with Parks and Rec, our consultant firm that was hired to help us design the Collinsville Playground Reconstruction Project has submitted their environmental impact study, which our administrator and director of Parks and Rec reviewed and then submitted to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The environmental impact study was required in order to obtain our $500,000 federal funding through the fiscal year 2023 appropriations bill that Rep. Sherrill was able to get for us. In order to get that funding, we have to submit the funding and the impact study and get it approved by HUD. So while we are unfortunately waiting for their approval before we can begin any physical work to the playground, our professionals are getting everything ready from the design specs and the bid process to have that ready to go once we get the approval so we can get moving as soon as possible. For the engineering standing committee that I sit on with Mr. Grayzel, the Walnut reconstruction project should be happening in the coming months, and their pre-construction meeting has been scheduled with the contractor that was awarded the bid. As folks may have seen throughout the township, our crack sealing and resurfacing projects are starting very shortly, with milling work to be done soon, followed by overlay paving. And some roadways will be seeing that happen in the fall, which is outlined in the list that was posted on our township website. For the Cannabis Advisory Committee, which I chair and Mr. Ravitz spoke about. So we had our first hearing and we had our municipal attorney and planning board attorney along with our township planner present to the volunteer committee that we have. For those who don't know, back in 2021 when the state legalized cannabis, Morris Township opted out of all classes of cannabis businesses, with the expectation that we would revisit it once the industry became established. As our advisory committee is made up of volunteer residents, we are focused strictly on evaluating the current state of the cannabis industry in New Jersey and reporting back to the Township Committee with a recommendation on what we think is the best for Morris Township in the future. No formal action will be taken by this committee. It's tasked purely to produce a report for the Township Committee to review later this year, and I'm looking forward to working with these members of the public to put this report together. So we had a great first meeting. Appreciate Jared's information there, and we have some good agenda items coming up at our next meetings, and those meeting dates are available on our Township website. Some of them still have to be finalized, but they'll be up soon. The only other thing I have to report for general commentary, and I will plug it as I did last month, Morris Township is unrolling its Hometown Heroes program to honor our resident veterans, those who continue to live here or have lived here in the past. We are working with the American Legion and the Daughters of the American Revolution to appropriately honor these members of the public. And applications to obtain a banner are available on the Township website. We have been receiving applications over the past month and a half now, over the past month, we were meeting with some of the fire companies who have a lot of veterans in their membership to have them participate, and we're really looking forward to seeing how many applications we get from there. So if you haven't heard about it yet, please visit our website or check out our social media pages where you can find more details. The deadline to apply to have a banner printed by Veterans Day this November is September 15th. So with that, I'll turn it over to our second public comment period. For those members of the public wishing to speak, please state your name and address for the record before speaking, and note that comments are limited to 5 minutes. Currently on Zoom, we have 10 members of the public joining us. We have some members of the public here in person who I'll recognize first if they come to the podium. If not, we'll start with Zoom. So may I please have a motion to open the second public portion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'll recognize Dr. Lynn Siebert.
Sorry about that. Yes.
No problem.
Dr. Lynn Siebert, 178 Hillcrest Avenue. Just very briefly, I want to commend Mr. Gallagher's presentation, and just to say it's very nice to see proactive, thoughtful, and inclusive planning at work with the EDAC Madison Avenue corridor study. And I just think that really is the way to really connect everybody in the community who will be impacted by any future development plans. The other thing, of course, that I mainly wanted to say was how much we in the Burnham Park area appreciate the ordinance that you introduced tonight, that's Ordinance 1823, to rezone the Jones Woods parcels with the aim to eventually include them on the Rossi. We have been waiting for this and hoping for this for a very long time, literally 28 years. That I've been following this ever since the township made the purchases in Jones Woods. And it's really something that we care deeply about. And I wanted to thank all of those involved in moving this forward at long last. And since it's the Burnham Park Association's 75th anniversary this year, this is a particularly meaningful event to shepherd towards that goal of finally preserving it and protecting it. As you know, it's used very widely. People are there almost every day hiking the trails and enjoying the beautiful scenery. And it's really something that's a treasure for all of us. And I just wanted to thank everyone involved with moving this forward at long last. That's it. I don't have anything else to say except just an appreciation.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert, and thank you for your steadfast support and advocacy for moving forward with this, and for everything that you've done with the BPA from the Green Strip to Jones Woods. As you said, it's a treasure. I would agree, and it's definitely a hidden gem for those who don't know about it. And I think you've talked about it many times before. It's a mature forest. There's a lot of biodiversity there that we must protect for many, many years to come, and we're really happy to be able to move forward with this and preserve it for future generations.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you also for the very nice citation that was delivered at our May 7th celebration for this in the park. And also just wanted to say thank you for recognizing the value of this this area. It makes a big difference to literally hundreds of people. So, and really the whole community benefits from it. So in case people don't really.
Dr. Sieber, you may have accidentally muted yourself.
Sorry again.
Yeah.
Didn't think I had. During the pandemic, I would just point out that when everything else was closed, the town, the county parks, the state parks, and so forth, Jones Woods became a haven for people to find some peace and some comfort in hiking on those trails. And it became extremely evident how important it is. So, and as you said, it's biodiversity, it's endangered and threatened species, and we will be sharing, we have commissioned an invasives survey and inventory and a priority plan from Mike Van Cleef, who's an expert on invasives. And we will be sharing that with your environmental commission. And hopefully we will be able to work together to continue to maintain and improve our wild places. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Go ahead. We're going to move to in-person. Mr. Paul Johnson, you're recognized.
Paul Johnson, 215 Pitney Place. With respect to the cannabis, those who are interested in having a dispensary in Morris Township, and I think that's what you were implying, what would be the expected benefit of having a business like that here?
So that is exactly what the committee's tasked to do, is to study the, it's mostly focused on economic rationale for having it, but also what are the zoning implications too, and the impacts to neighboring, the neighbors around those areas. So it's not just dispensaries, there's 6 classes of cannabis. So it's ranging from retail sales to cultivation to warehousing to delivery and things like that. So the committee is really just tasked to studying what everything is, how communities that have brought these businesses in, how they're doing, what are the benefits they've received, what are the challenges that they've had, and basically summarizing all of that for the governing body to then take a look at and say, should we keep opting out of everything, or should we allow something? And that's really up to the committee to determine. So we just had the first meeting. We'll have at least 3 more, possibly 4, and I'd welcome you to join them.
When will a report be expected to be written about this?
The last meeting will probably be October 14th, and I would say at least take us a month to put the report together, since we're all volunteers on it. I would expect by the December Township Committee meeting, we'll have the report at the latest, potentially the November one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the second public portion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The only thing left on the agenda is to adjourn. Our next Township Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in person and via Zoom. The closed session portion will start at 5:30 p.m. The time is now 8:04 p.m. May I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks so much for joining, everyone. Have a good night.